Hey, welcome to this video. My name is Jean Marie. I'm a self-taught artist. So this video is going to take you through some mixed media painting in the beginning, and then we will do some work in Photoshop. This will just be part one of the video. Grab a cup of coffee. Let's get into this. In order to have a design collection, you have to have an idea, right? Not always. Sometimes I do design collections with strategy in mind, where I'm thinking about a specific theme or holiday that I want to design around. But sometimes I just pull work from my sketchbook, and this is one of those cases where I wanted to do some loose florals and just have a play with materials, and that's it. And I put it away, and it wasn't until a little bit of time had passed that I thought that these flowers might make an interesting pattern, which then turned into a collection that I'm working on. So I just basically did some sketching with a Faber-Castell Pitt pen in the color of sepia, and now I'm just going over the top of that sketch with some Liquitex sepia acrylic ink. And I have a tendency to mix it with water because I like the effects of water. Love watercolor, love gouache. I like mixing the acrylic ink with water as well, so it gets some texture in there, some base texture. Then I decided to take some gouache, which I don't have any professional gouache. I use a student grade gouache set brand by Arteza. It's decent enough to work in the sketchbook. The set that I have has a lot of colors, and so it just is more fun playing around. I don't have to mix colors. I just use them straight out of the tube. So I'm just going through and adding some different colors and layers to give this little sketchbook painting some interest in life. Doing random shapes, trying not to overcomplicate anything. Sometimes I just want to paint and be loose, and I don't worry about the end product at the time. It wasn't until I filmed my big ass sketchbook tour that I remembered this little painting, and I had recorded it at the end of summer but never got to make a video from it. So I'm glad I still had that footage to show you guys the process of how I made these motifs before I got into the pattern making part. So I just remembered it, and I thought, yeah, it's got some nice colors, some interesting organic shapes. You know, now that I know Photoshop a little bit, I can take that and try to turn it into a pattern. So my plan was just to make one pattern from this actual sketchbook page. It ended up being a lot more, as you guys will see in the next video. I'm just finishing this acrylic ink layer off with some Prismacolor for more detail, and you can see it's like super loose, messy, fun, simple. I think the color palette is interesting, and there's some interesting shapes there. So let's take it into Photoshop. It's now time to get into Photoshop and make a new document and save this file, bring in the scans, and we're going to do a photo merge because the sketchbook that I used to paint this was like 11 by 14 and wouldn't fit on my scanner, so I had to scan it in two pieces. And you can see Photoshop does a really good job at bringing those two things together. So now that it's all one piece, we're going to merge those two layers together, and then we're going to do an adjustment layer to increase the white balance so that the white is brighter and that there's more contrast. The darks are a little bit darker. And the reason why we're doing that is so when it comes time to remove the background, there's a little bit more contrast and that the colors are more closely related to the artwork, which, as you'll see in a few minutes, I end up making this black and white for recoloring purposes. We're just going to grab the magic eraser tool and try to delete that background out. You can tell that it removed quite a bit of the background with the magic eraser. So that actually looks pretty good, and I could have used those pieces and kept that same color, but I've been learning from other designers that working in black and white and grayscale is actually beneficial. So I'm trying it. So I'm doing a different technique here to remove the background. I'm turning it grayscale and then removing the background. The process is not that different. If you guys are interested in a more detailed tutorial, definitely let me know. Photoshop is newer to me. I've used it in the past. I learned surface pattern design in Illustrator, and now I'm learning it in Photoshop through a class that Sarah Watts teaches called From Paint to Pattern. So that's been going good, very helpful. So now that I've got the background out, I'm going through and basically cutting all of my motifs out, putting them on new layers. So this is a very slow process with a mouse. I'm using the polygon lasso tool and just putting them all on different layers. So they're all separate now, and I can move them around like puzzle pieces to figure out what I want to do with them. I kept the cleanest ones, so I cut out the pieces of the artwork that I really liked and didn't require too much cleanup. I prefer to work traditionally, so working digitally is a whole new ball game. Now that I think about it, maybe I could have used the object selection tool to cut and paste on separate layers. Oh well, you live and learn. Next time. So basically I'm just arranging my motifs and resizing them a bit. You have to remember in Photoshop that you don't want to scale your items down because you cannot scale them back up without losing resolution. Just keep that in mind. I knew that I was going to be making these motifs smaller, so I was fine with resizing them a little bit. And I'm just kind of going through and pulling pieces out that I don't like, layering pieces on top of each other, and getting everything kind of visually appealing to me and how I want to see this artwork portrayed. It was kind of interesting to work in this monochrome grayscale. I wasn't getting sidetracked and distracted by the coloring process. I was just focusing on the scale of the motifs and the arrangement. I started to build the pattern, but then I decided to just take a break and recolor it because coloring is such a crucial part in building the pattern. You don't want too many light colors next to each other. So before I got too far into the pattern making process, I needed to focus on color. After about 2 days of trying different color palettes, I finally landed on this one that I'm calling Forest Spell. You can see it's the second to the bottom row in the right hand side in the swatches panel, but this is going to be the hero pattern in the collection I'm calling Painted Garden. In the next video, we will finish this hero pattern and make some secondary prints and blenders. Probably just 3 or 4 prints total, as this will just be a small mini collection. If you're interested in seeing this collection develop, subscribe, tune in for the next video when we finish this Painted Garden collection for the portfolio. We might actually be able to use this in my spoonflower shop. It just depends on how the collection turns out. But yeah, just want to say thanks if you made it to the end. And if you're into surface pattern design or you are a surface pattern designer, leave me a comment. Would love to connect with you. If you have a channel that goes over surface pattern design, would love to follow. Let me know. Hope you guys are well. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in another video. Go ahead and do that thing so we can stay connected.